Hey everyone, Sonic Adventure 2 is my favourite 3D Sonic game, and it's a monumental game for a lot of reasons. It was the last Sonic game to be released on a SEGA console. It was also the first Sonic game to be released on a Nintendo console. And it was the first time players could control and play as the baddies, including Dr. Eggman, if we ignore racing and fighting game appearances and stuff like that. Sonic Adventure 2, in my opinion, had a lot going for it. It had a pretty grandiose and serious storyline, some absolutely awesome music, and less silly gameplay ideas than the prior Sonic Adventure. I love it, and I feel it's another one of those games that would be perfect for the Iceberg format, because there's a lot of strange things about this game. In this video, we're going to be exploring the Sonic Adventure 2 Iceberg, starting at the top, where we'll go over some relatively well-known facts and secrets about the game, and descending to the depths of the iceberg, where we'll discuss some lesser-known details and some radical theories. This is actually my third Sonic Iceberg, so if you're a Sonic fanatic, feel free to check out my Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic Adventure Icebergs too. Without further ado, let's get going with the first layer of this iceberg. Big the Cat cameo. Big the Cat from Sonic Adventure makes a large number of cameo appearances in the background of every stage in Sonic Adventure 2 for the Dreamcast, often found fishing and sometimes found in incredibly unusual positions. Also in the Dreamcast version of the game, Big could be unlocked in the two-player mech shooting stages. His cameos and his unlockable playable appearance were both removed from the GameCube port, though mashing the A button during various cutscenes can still trigger Big to make a little cameo appearance in the background. Soap shoes. Soap shoes were a brand of shoes designed specifically for grinding in 1997. In Sonic Adventure 2, a number of advertisements for soap shoes can be seen throughout the game, and Sonic's iconic sneakers are replaced with soap shoes. It was because of this new footwear that the game had a strong emphasis on grinding on rails, which has since become a staple of the Sonic series, despite the fact that Sonic has since returned to his traditional footwear. It's widely thought that the soap shoes brand deal was a relatively last-minute inclusion, as Sonic wears his normal shoes in early versions of the game and in art associated with the game. He even wears his old shoes erroneously in a few cutscenes and moments in the final game too. Alternate costumes. In the Dreamcast version, there are 3 extra outfits or skins per character that can be used in the two-player mode. Getting an A rank in every character's stage will unlock them a bonus outfit. Sonic and Shadow have a Phantasy Star Online inspired outfit. Eggman and Tails have recolored skins. Knuckles has a cool looking goth outfit. And Rouge has straight up dominatrix gear with mask and all. A seasonal Christmas and Halloween outfit per character could also be downloaded via the Dreamcast VMU. One set of unlockable outfits can also be attained in Sonic Adventure 2 Battle by getting A ranks in all of each character's respective stages. Green Hill Zone. When the player collects all the 180 emblems in the game and achieves A ranks on all missions, they unlock a secret 3D rendition of Green Hill Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 1991. Green Hill Zone was also going to be accessible in the game's multiplayer mode, but for some reason, that didn't end up happening. California. The game was developed by a team operating out of San Francisco, California, and as a result, the game is littered with locales lifted straight out of the Golden State. For starters, City Escape takes inspiration from the hilly streets of San Francisco. Radical Highway is modeled after the Golden Gate Bridge. All of the prison levels take place on an island, hinting at an Alcatraz inspiration. And Route 101 and Route 280, in the kart racing section of the game, are named after real highways that run through California. Finally, Mission Street is also a real street in California. Chao Cinematic Universe. You might have noticed that Sonic Adventure is peppered with posters for the in-universe movie Chao in Space. In Sonic Adventure 2, it looks like the Chao movie franchise has really taken off. Posters for Chao in Space 2 can be seen, and there's also a poster for a spin-off movie, Planet of the Chaos, as well. It makes me wonder whether Chaos became a famous movie star after Sonic Adventure. Both of these movies are PG-13, by the way. The Chao in Space series continued in future games and would even be turned into an actual YouTube animation in 2019. Knuckles scared of ghosts. The theme for Knuckles' stage, Pumpkin Hill, boldly proclaims a number of times that Knuckles is fearless, repeating "I have no fear" quite often, and stating that the ghosts get leery when Knuckles is around. This is a little strange because Knuckles is evidently scared of the ghosts that seem to haunt him throughout the game. For example, he's jittery before his battle with King Boom Boo, and the original version of Knuckles' delivery was a lot more nervous.
What? A ghost?
And he can be knocked off his feet by the ghosts that appear in Pumpkin Hill and elsewhere. This isn't the first time that Knuckles' music has completely lied about his character. In his theme in Sonic Adventure, it says Knuckles never chuckles, when he literally chuckles immediately at the start of Sonic 3. King Boom Boo. King Boom Boo is the king of the ghosts who are omnipresent in the game. Weirdly, Luigi's Mansion released mere months after Sonic Adventure 2, and it featured the first appearance of King Boo. A weird coincidence that these two games released so closely together had such similar characters. Incidentally, SEGA copied the name Boo, which is the name of the ghosts in Sonic Adventure 2, from Nintendo. Chasing the truck. You know the truck that violently chases Sonic down the street at the end of City Escape? It's possible to make the driver panic and put his foot down on the reverse pedal. As soon as the truck appears, if you jump in the truck's direction and continue to do so without touching it, it'll quickly back up until it finds itself out of bounds, allowing you to explore the streets freely. Terios and Nails. There's plenty of concept art showing off potential early Shadow the Hedgehog designs. During early stages of development, Shadow was named Terios, which many sites suggest means reflection, though the Daihatsu Terios Wikipedia page suggests that it roughly translates to making dreams come true in Old Greek. Terios' design went through multiple different alterations before the final Shadow the Hedgehog design was landed on, often depicted with only one eye or with prominent scarring. Some early Terios designs were reportedly considered too scary for younger audiences. His final design, with the red highlights, was inspired by Japanese kabuki face paint. Concept art of Rouge also exists, showing her with an ear piercing and much smaller wings. Rouge, during early development, was originally called Nails the Bat. Some have even suggested that Rouge was teased in Sonic Adventure in the form of this poster that can be seen throughout the game. If you ask me though, this looks a lot more like the Game Grumps' Sonic Forces avatar, Plurp Dankenstein McFlurnton. Invisible rails. In Knuckles' Meteor Herd stage, there's an unused rail that runs through the level. It's invisible and Knuckles can't interact with it, but if the player hacks the game and chooses to play the stage as either Sonic or Shadow, they can utilize it. Whether this invisible rail is a mistake, or a remnant of a plan to make the stage playable with other characters, is unknown. Multiple path system. The original plan for the game was to have multiple branching paths through the story, driven by the player making key decisions that would result in many different cutscenes and endings. This idea obviously didn't go ahead, but it was later revived in Shadow the Hedgehog in 2005. Unlockable Super Sonic and Super Shadow. Super Sonic and Super Shadow are only playable in the final boss of the game. However, they were going to be playable in Sonic Adventure 2 Battles 2-player mode after getting an A rank on the secret Green Hill Zone, but they were ultimately cut. Incidentally, they were both going to have 6-star ratings, making them by far the best picks. Drowning in the Chao Garden. The Hero Chao Garden is a lovely, happy place, unlike the Dark Chao Garden, but the Hero Garden does have its own sinister secret. In the Dreamcast version of the game, the water is so deep that Tails, being the shortest character, can actually drown in the pool. This was corrected and the water level was lowered in the GameCube port of the game. Chao Library and Playground. Sonic Adventure 2 expanded Sonic Adventure's Chao Garden for the better, adding a lot more content to the Chao section of the game, but originally even more content was planned. A playground and a library area were originally going to be included but didn't make the cut. We're not entirely sure what the playground was going to entail, but it seems like the library would have been a place to download and make mini-games for Chow Adventure 2 on the Dreamcast VMU. E1000 mass production. E102 Gamma from Sonic Adventure doesn't reappear in Sonic Adventure 2, but it does appear as if Dr. Eggman has mass-produced a whole new range of robots based on E102, dubbed the E1000. They can be found in multiple levels in the game. Despite having double the firepower of E102 Gamma, the E1000 robots appear significantly weaker, as they can be taken out in just one shot. Test level. In Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, it's possible to access a test level, originally hidden away and designed for the use of the dev team. Some of the stages contain Chow key boxes. Collecting the Chow keys in very specific ways transports Sonic & Co. to the colourful test levels, where you can test out all of Sonic's abilities. The Son of a Glitch episode covering Sonic Adventure 2 explains just a few of the ways to exploit the Chow key and reach this area if you're interested in trying yourself. Bad audio dub. The game is rather famous for its bad cutscenes. The lip syncing in the English version is pretty bad, but worse still, the characters often talk over each other. This is because they're animated to fit the Japanese dub, but because many of the lines are longer in English, this resulted in characters continually cutting each other off.
You're comparing yourself to me? Huh? You're not even good enough to be
I'll
my
make you eat those words. What the?
Is everyone all right? We should be landing soon.
The hatch doors are
Don't
open.
sweat it, Knuckles. The only thing in the cargo bay are those
What do you
Master
mean, don't
Emeralds.
sweat it?
Right?
Land the
Knock
shuttle
it
and
off,
let me
Knuckles.
out.
We're gonna crash this thing if you keep that up.
World ranking system. One feature of the game originally planned but cut was a world ranking system, utilising the Dreamcast's online capabilities. Players would be able to browse through world high scores and submit their own for each level via the extras menu. This feature didn't make the final cut of the game, unfortunately, but most of the assets associated with this abandoned idea still exist in the game files. There's an awful lot to see, so this might well have been a last-minute cut. Bright Chow. Bright Chow are the bizarre result of a glitch introduced in the HD port of the game in which, under certain breeding circumstances, a Chow can come out an eye-burningly bright colour. Yosh. Probably Dr. Eggman's most memorable line in the game is Yosh. He says it quite often, particularly when petting Chow. The line Yosh is actually an untranslated line from Eggman's Japanese dialogue, Yosh being a general exclamation of happiness in Japanese. Yosh also happens to mean hedgehog in Russian.
Yosh, 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 yosh.
Budweiser. Soap shoes weren't the only brand to make it into Sonic Adventure 2. The level City Escape actually contains a Budweiser texture, with the frog from the old 1990s TV ads adorning the Budweiser sign. Hang on, maybe in Sonic's universe it's actually Froggy, acting as a brand ambassador for Bud. Super Bounce. After obtaining the Bounce bracelet, a glitch commonly known as the Super Bounce becomes available. It can be achieved by spin dashing towards a wall and pushing the jump, and then the action button just before hitting the wall. Sonic will maintain his spin dash momentum, sending him flying into the air. It's an easy exploit to pull off, and allows for some easy out-of-bounds exploration. It's not officially part of Sonic's moveset in the game, but it's a fun way of getting around. Anti-Sony PS2 Association. There are a few bizarre posters that can be seen throughout Sonic Adventure 2. Perhaps the strangest is this one, declaring that Sonic Adventure 2 is habit-forming and urging players not to switch off. In the Dreamcast version of the game, some obscure text on the same poster reads Anti-XXXXX2 Association, which is thought to stand for Anti-Sony PS2 Association, which was a competitor of the Dreamcast at the time. Hunted P. All of the rap music that plays in the background of Knuckles' stages was performed by an artist called Hunted P, who was actually credited under the wrong name in the game's credits. P has gained an incredibly bad reputation in the Sonic community for some of his actions since the game's release. In 2012, he lied about being hired by SEGA to work on an upcoming SEGA game, and would go on to accuse SEGA of not paying him for his work on Sonic Adventure 2, though contradictory statements exist of Hunid confirming he was paid for the work. Even worse, P was also accused of aggressively trying to extort a Sonic fan music content creator who he recorded a fan song with for money. Overall, not a great sounding guy. Chow Health Center glitch. The Dreamcast version of the game contains a game-breaking glitch when talking to the Chow Doctor. After 29 hours of life, Chow either die or reincarnate. Talking to the Chow Doctor offers the option of finding out how many times a Chow has reincarnated, but doing so could crash your game and corrupt your game file. Weirdly, this doesn't happen with the Japanese version of the game, which is entirely normal and doesn't crash the game, suggesting this is an example of a really bad translation error. Impossible perfect ring counts. The game ranks your performance on a grading scale after each level. One way of getting an A rank is to collect all of the rings in a given stage. In a number of stages, however, it's impossible to get a perfect ring count due to some stages having out-of-bounds rings. The most dramatic example is White Jungle, which has nearly 200 out-of-bounds inaccessible rings, owing to the fact that the level's layout underwent some dramatic changes during development. Moon inconsistency. At one point in the game, Dr. Eggman destroys half of the moon to show off his Eclipse cannon. The moon has since reappeared in other games completely intact though. Iizuka, the game's director, has since jokingly explained that the moon just rotates, so its non-destroyed side is always seen, though this isn't scientifically possible. 34 degrees north, 12 degrees east. The name of the song for the stage Mad Space is 34 degrees north, 12 degrees east for Mad Space. It's kind of strange. These geographical coordinates point to a spot in the Mediterranean Sea, near Libya, when you put them into Google Maps. Exactly what these coordinates mean is a mystery. Maybe SEGA were leading us to the lost city of Atlantis, or maybe they just thought some random coordinates would sound cool in the song's name. Tails' last-minute inclusion. The very first screenshots and video footage of the game led audiences in on the first three playable characters, Sonic, Knuckles, and Dr. Eggman. Conspicuously missing from these early announcements was Tails. When questioned about Tails' inclusion in the game, Yuji Naka was originally hesitant to confirm Tails' involvement, sometimes saying Tails wouldn't appear, and sometimes saying perhaps. Tails was eventually announced as a playable character later on, but his late announcement and the fact that he plays in a mech has led fans to question whether he was eventually included because of fan demand, rather than being an organic inclusion by SEGA. Bernal Sphere. Tails refers to the Ark colony as the first Bernoulli spherical space colony. This is a mistranslation, referring erroneously to a Dutch mathematician. Tails was meant to refer to the Ark as a Bernal Sphere, referring to a speculative concept of what a long-term space habitat designed for humans might look like, first conceived by John Bernal in 1929. Searching for images of this proposed Bernal Sphere makes it obvious that some of the game's architecture and imagery was inspired by Bernal's conceptual drawings. Sonic Hieroglyph. In the King Boom Boo fight, the central pillar in the boss room has some hieroglyphs. One depicts the king himself looking a little like a fish, and another depicts Sonic. Ancient buildings throughout the series just couldn't help but depict and prophesy Sonic, could they? Sonic Money. If you watched Cybershell's The Weird Humans of Sonic Adventure video, you'll recall that he mentioned a rule set down by SEGA and corroborated by Ian Flynn and Tyson Hess, who both have experience working on Sonic comics and, in Hess's case, animations, that money was not meant to appear or be referred to in the world of Sonic. Sonic Adventure 2 definitely breaks that rule big time, as money appears to be floating about freely in the security hall level. And who adorns the dollars floating around? George Washington? The President, perhaps? No, it's Sonic, of course. Samba de Amigo. Sonic Adventure 2 contains a few SEGA-related Easter eggs. Prominently, there's a knight's statue adorning a building in Radical Highway, and the game is littered with references to Phantasy Star Online, some of which we've already mentioned. There are plenty more subtle references to other SEGA titles too. For example, on the Dreamcast version you could download extra racetracks for special events. One event was Opa Opa Kart Racing, where you could drive around a special track as Omochao in a Fantasy Zone themed kart. There is also a road sign in Radical Highway that alludes to Samba de Amigo. It reads, Amigo 38. 38 also reappears on the side of Samba de Amigo's car in Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, though I don't know the significance of the number 38 and Samba de Amigo. Resaurus leaks. Toy company Resaurus worked on a line of action figures for Sonic Adventure, and planned to release a new wave of figures, which included Shadow and Rouge, for Sonic Adventure 2. Resaurus was sent character models of the pair in order to build their sculpts at a time when the duo was still shrouded in secrecy. Resaurus leaked the existence of these two characters in their Sonic Adventure 2 toy line announcement before they were officially unveiled by SEGA, effectively ruining Sega's surprise. Resaurus went out of business shortly after starting work on their Sonic Adventure 2 range, so the figures never saw the light of day. NIDS. As explained in a Japanese strategy guide, in the game, Maria Robotnik suffered from an unfortunate and fictional disease called NIDS, which stands for Neuroimmunodeficiency Syndrome. Of course, NIDS was based on the real-life disease AIDS, which is quite heavy for a Sonic game, and it means that Shadow was at least partially created in the quest for a cure for a fictionalized version of AIDS. This aspect was never explicitly explained in-game, perhaps because it might have been rather controversial, though in the Archie comic books, other characters, including Bunny Rabbit, get afflicted with the disease at one point. Xbox reference. On the Dreamcast, Crazy Gadget contains some boxes that have a bright green X on them. When the game was ported over to the GameCube, these boxes were changed to have a red X instead, rumoured to be because the green Xboxes were too reminiscent of Xbox consoles. The Blue Marble. Okay, for us Western fans, Sonic Adventure 2 was the first game to explicitly take place on Earth, or at least a weird alternate version of Earth. Throughout the 1990s, Western fans were told Sonic games took place on an entirely fictional planet called Mobius, which was actually an invention of Sega of America, and not part of Japanese canon. Although Sonic Adventure introduced humans and modern cities to the mix, it was Sonic Adventure 2 that first referred explicitly to Sonic's planet being Earth. Exactly how similar Sonic's planet is to ours has always been unclear, but there are some weird similarities. For example, a cutscene briefly shows what looks to be the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, and the Pyramids of Giza. Weird to think that these things coexist alongside Pumpkin Hill and Green Hill Zone. Also worth noting is that an actual image of Earth, called the Blue Marble, a photograph taken by NASA, is used to depict the planet throughout the game, suggesting that from space, Sonic's planet looks exactly like ours somehow. In short, the world of Sonic is a bit of a mess. Dr. Eggman's mustache is fake. One widely circulated factoid about the game is the claim that Dr. Eggman's mustache is fake, because of an unused line of dialogue in the game in which Omochao says,
"Did you know the doctor's mustache is fake?"
The truth is that this line doesn't actually refer to Dr. Eggman at all. The Japanese version of the line states that the Chow Professor's mustache is fake, which sounds a lot more plausible and suggests that this was a case of mistranslation. Pepsi Man plagiarism. Pepsi Man is a 1999 PlayStation game that shares a few similarities with Sonic Adventure 2. In Pepsi Man, you play as the titular superhero, collecting cans of Pepsi while running around and avoiding obstacles. In particular, Stage 1 of Pepsi Man ends with the superhero skateboarding down a busy street that looks like San Francisco, and then running away from a giant Pepsi can. These moments are incredibly similar to the opening and truck chase parts of City Escape, leading to accusations that Sonic Adventure 2 ripped off Pepsi Man. Sega's last game. It was a very real possibility that Sonic Adventure 2 was going to end up being the final Sega Sonic game when it released. The Dreamcast was performing terribly, and so was Sega at the turn of the millennium. In March 2001, for example, Sega posted a net loss of over $400,000. Sega announced a transition out of the hardware marketplace, but quite literally only survived this transition because of Isao Okawa, the Sega president who forgave $500 million worth of debt owed by Sega, single-handedly saving them and Sonic from either collapse or buyout. Reportedly, Microsoft and Nintendo were interested in purchasing Sega at the time. Sega did leave the console marketplace, of course, and Sonic Adventure 2 became the first Sonic game on a Nintendo console, which was a pretty big deal back in 2001. Anti-piracy measures. You've probably seen the YouTube anti-piracy screen meme around, of which there's one for Sonic Adventure 2. The Dreamcast version of the game did have an actual anti-piracy measure in place though. Right at the end of the game in Canon's core, Eggman will fall right through the floor if the game disc is deemed to be copied, preventing players from completing the game. Christian themes. You might have seen some Christian Sonic art floating around the internet before. Well, there might be some official basis for all of that fan art after all. It turns out that when Sonic Adventure 2 Battle released for the GameCube, Sega opted for a religiously themed print ad campaign, with Sonic being portrayed as the embodiment of good and Shadow of evil. A lot of the imagery and even wording of many of these ads draws from traditional Christian imagery and messages. Mystery Sonic Render. One of the earliest images associated with Sonic Adventure 2 that can be found knocking around the internet is this extremely weird, off-brand looking Sonic. The image in question is from the May 2000 issue of Electronic Gaming Monthly magazine, but versions of this particular Sonic can be found in magazines dating from late 1999 as well. As far as I can tell, this is not official Sega artwork and was more likely done by a magazine in some capacity, though I may be wrong about that. I'm pretty confident that Sonic was never going to end up looking like this in Sonic Adventure 2, but I'd love to hear who made these weird Sonics, if anyone happens to know. Urashima Taro. Rouge's stage Dry Canyon contains a little bit of Japanese folklore hiding in plain sight. The stage starts with two robots flanking a scared turtle. Destroying the robots allows you to ride the turtle to a larger area via an underwater passage. This tiny little scenario is actually paying homage to a famous Japanese folktale in which a hero named Urashima Taro saves a turtle from torture at the hands of some children and is in return carried on its back to a palace beneath the sea. I love it when things like this subtly make their way into games. Sonic Screaming. A version of the game called Sonic Adventure 2 Preview, which was sent to the press 3 months before the game's eventual release, contains 2 unused voice clips that are kind of odd. According to the preview's subtitle files, these voice clips were meant to be Sonic and Shadow screaming, following Knuckles' speech in the last story. Take a listen, they sound pretty distraught. Chow Poison. The Chow Doctor has a picture of his wife and a bottle of poison on his desk. The bottle depicts a deceased Chow on the label, and the Japanese text reads Chow Irazu, which roughly translates to no need for Chow. It seems as if you can officially put your Chow down if you're not happy with them. The poison isn't the only thing weird about the world of the Chow either. The fortune teller has a skull or shrunken head on her table. The principal has a statue that blinks, and the black market vendor is sat next to a water creature of some sort. Is it a mutated Chow? Or some other kind of fish creature? Proto Blaze. Proto Blaze refers to some very rough official concept art for the character Blaze the Cat, who would go on to appear in Sonic Rush. According to internet sources, so take this with a pinch of salt, this Proto Blaze character was one of many ideas thrown around when designing Rouge and Shadow, so Blaze's origin may well date back to 2000 or 2001, and it appears that she was a recycled Sonic Adventure 2 idea. Echidna nipples. Hidden Base, the pyramid level in the game, has a lot of easily missable but strange background objects and textures. Dr. Eggman, who's a complete megalomaniac, has plastered his face over the majority of the Egyptian-style statues and reliefs that decorate the level. He did leave some statues intact, however, statues that suggest that the pyramid is of Echidna origin, making the reach of the Echidna civilization extend beyond Angel Island. One weird example of this Echidna architecture is this trio of strange human Echidna hybrids that look, frankly, a little like Ken Pender's creations. Considering that Mario's nipples were a big deal in Mario Odyssey, I'm surprised that these Echidna nipples didn't cause more of a stir at the time. Mural theory. This refers to an unofficial but widely accepted fan theory. In his quest to create the ultimate life form, it seems Gerald Robotnik was inspired by a number of different murals. For starters, one of Gerald's many early creations was the artificial Chaos robots, who do look remarkably similar to Chaos Zero. Also, one original incarnation of the ultimate life form, the Bio Lizard, looks a lot like Perfect Chaos, who's depicted in a mural in Sonic Adventure's Mystic Ruins. Where did Gerald get the inspiration of trying to create a hedgehog ultimate life form? Shadow looks very reminiscent of the mural found in Hidden Palace Zone in Sonic & Knuckles, which in reality of course depicts Supersonic. The shape of Shadow's spines are similar to Supersonic's. Later games like Sonic Battle and Shadow the Hedgehog did elaborate on Gerald's past and establish that he was an avid historian who studied Echidna civilization and archaeology, so this theory does have some basis. The bondage is a success. Remember the test stage mentioned earlier? Although Knuckles can enter the generic test stage, there's an inaccessible Knuckles-specific test stage hidden in the game's files. This Knuckles test stage includes 5 rather odd hints designed to appear on the monitors in the stage. These hints read, "This message is a test," "This massage is the best," "This sausage is the last," "This bandage is big," and "This bondage is a success/hit." What on earth was going on at SEGA? Sonic is the ultimate life form, Gun framed Sonic, and Shadow fake memories. These 3 last points are interconnected and were brilliantly articulated by Ivo Goji on the Chow Island forums. I'm going to run through an abridged version of this conjoined conspiracy theory, but I recommend everyone check out the original post for more details. In short, Sonic Adventure 2 intentionally left the true identity of the so-called ultimate life form ambiguous, throwing doubt on the claim that Shadow was the definitive ultimate life form, and opening up the idea that Sonic might be the ultimate life form instead. The game never truly commits to clarifying any details about Shadow's past, and there is evidence against Shadow's claims to be the ultimate life form. For starters, he suffers from amnesia and memory issues, and the game makes it clear that some of Shadow's memories are fake and implanted by Gerald, so we can't say for sure that Shadow was actually created on the Space Colony Ark, which is something that he claims and which would identify him as the ultimate life form. In fact, nothing Shadow says can really be taken as true or fact. Also, Rouge isn't totally sold on his claims, and the Japanese strategy guide gives a little backstory to Project Shadow in the form of a report gathered by Rouge. The report makes it clear that the ultimate life form was jettisoned to Earth by Maria, but says there's no way to confirm if the hedgehog sealed at Prison Island, where Shadow was found, was the ultimate life form or a mere replica. It's also worth noting that Shadow is evidently less capable than Sonic of harnessing the Chaos Emerald's powers. This is evidenced in the Final Hazard boss fight at the end of the game. After the fight, Shadow, exhausted, falls to his doom, while Sonic survives unscathed. A final piece of evidence comes from writer Shiro Miyakawa. When asked if Sonic was instead the ultimate life form, he responded on Twitter by stating that the answer was left ambiguous, though it appears as if this tweet has unfortunately been deleted. If not the ultimate life form, Shadow might instead have been nothing more than a crazed weapon of vengeance created by Gerald Robotnik as a clone of Sonic, the most likely candidate to be the ultimate life form owing to his immense power to harness the Chaos Emeralds. Gun-framed Sonic. So following on from all of that, let's talk about gun-framing Sonic. It's easy to see Gun mistaking Sonic for Shadow and thinking how silly that whole concept seems. They must be idiots, right? According to the aforementioned conspiracy though, Gun might actually be well aware of the dangerous weapon that is Shadow the Hedgehog, and in an attempt to keep Shadow's identity and true nature as a killing machine secret, an elaborate plan is unleashed to frame Sonic for Shadow's crimes instead at all costs. This theory certainly makes Gun seem less naive. Finally, Shadow fake memories. We learn throughout the game that Shadow has some memory issues, misremembering Maria Robotnik's final request to make everyone happy, and retaining a false implanted memory that Maria wanted revenge. If we take the Sonic Ultimate Lifeform theory to its logical endpoint, perhaps Shadow never even met Maria at all, and has instead a series of layered false memories. Shadow ultimately sacrifices himself inspired by a false memory of Maria, meaning his sacrifice at the end of the game was ultimately noble but informed by events that never happened. Tragic. Ultimately, later Sonic games kind of have solidified the idea that Shadow is the ultimate life form, which is kind of a shame. Shadow wasn't even meant to return in future games and only did so because of fan demand. Within the confines of Sonic Adventure 2's story, we can't say for sure who is the ultimate life form, and this ambiguity definitely adds an extra level of depth to the story. And with that, we're done. The depths of the Sonic Adventure 2 Iceberg explored. If you happen to know anything interesting about Sonic Adventure 2 that I didn't mention in this video, feel free to share it in the comments. I'd love to hear more stuff. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like and subscribing for more gaming stuff in the future. I've done a Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Sonic Adventure Iceberg, so you can check those out too if you're a Sonic fanatic and you want more. And with that, all I gotta say is sayonara.